Usually, I don't like featuring base models from Toyota because they're quite bare with a capital B. However, with Toyota ramping up its features game lately, well, I just had to take a look at the base model Toyota Raize 1.2e manual transmission and see if it makes the most sense out of the entire local Raize lineup. Let's do this. Hello guys, I'm Regan and welcome back to another car feature. If you're new to my channel, I want you to click that subscribe button for your regular dose of Philippine automotive content. If you're my subscriber already, well, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. But first, click that like button. Also, special thanks to Toyota Valenzuela for providing the base spec Toyota Raize 1.2e manual transmission to do this car feature. If you are within the area and you need any Toyota, head on down here to Toyota Valenzuela and check them out. For any inquiries, you may also contact the person in my pinned comment below. The base model Raize 1.2e manual transmission is meant to be an affordable fleet vehicle option for the enterprising business owner out there. Now, with its high ground clearance and its larger cabin space, well, I wouldn't be surprised if this base spec Raize 1.2e replaces the Vios as the taxi fleet vehicle of choice or maybe the grab car of choice here in the Philippines. However, what did surprise me with this base variant is the amount of features and kit that we are getting for the money. You see, this base model Toyota Raize 1.2e manual transmission has a retail price of 746,000 Philippine pesos, making it one of the most affordable small crossovers available in the Philippines today. Now, being a base model budget Toyota, you'd expect that the Raize E will get 4 doors, 4 wheels, and hopefully a radio. However, the base spec Raize E delivers so much more than that. In fact, the front fascia of this thing is exactly identical to the top-spec Raize Turbo and even the mid-spec Raize G. Now, this base model Raize E even gets LED DRLs and a set of halogen fog lights. I'm going to repeat that, guys. This base model Raize E gets LED DRLs and halogen fog lights. I mean, guys, how cool is that? Now, this is Toyota stepping up its features game, and you can see evidence of it throughout the entire vehicle. Now, granted, the headlights of this thing are just halogen, but for 700,000 pesos and change, who the hell cares? Now, the side profile of this base variant Raize E is not so different from the other Raize variants, especially the mid-spec Raize G. Now, usually when you say a base model budget Toyota, you'd probably expect like hubcaps and steelies for wheels, but that's not the case in this Raize E manual transmission. You see, we get 16-inch alloy wheels here in the same design found in the mid-spec Raize G. Now, these 16-inch alloy wheels are wrapped in 205/65 R16 tires, so that thicker tire sidewall would also translate to a more comfortable ride. Now, when it comes to the mechanical bits of this Raize E, well, the mechanicals are pretty much the same across the board. This Raize E gets ventilated disc brakes up front, drum brakes at the back, and for the suspension, we have a MacPherson setup in the front and a torsion beam at the back. Now, guys, for 746,000 Philippine pesos, nobody will complain about rear drum brakes or even that torsion beam. Now, when it comes to the ground clearance of this thing, you see the official ground clearance figure by Toyota Philippines is 200 millimeters, although I did see some reports in websites and in other countries that put the ground clearance at 185 millimeters. So apparently, there's a four-wheel drive Raize available in other countries like in Japan. So I have a feeling that 200 millimeter ground clearance is applicable to the four-wheel drive Raize, while this front-wheel drive variant that we get here in the Philippines only gets 185 millimeters worth of ground clearance. But guys, a 15 millimeter difference in ground clearance, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Seriously. It doesn't matter. Stop that. Stop that comment. Yeah, you don't have to comment anymore. It doesn't matter. The rear end of this base spec Raize is practically identical to the rear end of the higher variants of the local Toyota Raize. Now granted, we do get just a matte black plastic trim right here in the center, but who cares, guys? At least we still get the full LED taillight units that are also found in the Raize Turbo and also in the mid-spec Raize G. In fact, even the design of the rear bumper of this thing is exactly identical to its more expensive Raize brothers. Now, when you pop open the manual liftgate of this thing, you'll see that the base spec Raize E gets the same cargo space at 369 liters if we have the floorboard in the low position. However, when you put it in the high position, well, that cargo capacity shrinks to around 300 liters, which is still good enough for one medium-sized luggage right here and some smaller items beside it. Now, underneath this floorboard, we also get a full-size spare tire similar to the top-spec Raize Turbo and the Raize G. And in case you need more space for larger items, well, you can always tumble down the back seats of this Raize E and it folds flat to the floor. So yeah, you get a pretty large cargo space with the back seats folded. This base spec Raize E is powered by the same motor found in the mid-spec Raize G, although this base model gets a very special transmission. Now what we have here is a 1.2-liter 3-cylinder naturally aspirated gasoline motor that puts out 87 horsepower and 113 Newton-meters of torque. Now all of this power is sent to the front wheels via a limited edition 5-speed manual transmission. Now guys, I just got to drive this Raize E around Toyota Valenzuela complex for a short while, and I got to sit inside it while it's idling, and I can tell you that the clutch engagement point and the shifter feel of this thing is pretty similar to the manual transmission Toyota Avanza and the Toyota Wigo, which is kind of expected because both the Avanza and the Wigo are Daihatsus, and this Raize is also technically a Daihatsu. Now, however, guys, one major point of concern for me is the maximum torque figure of this thing. You see, maximum torque comes in as high as 4,500 RPM, and usually when you're driving the Raize around the city, your shift point is at 3,000 RPM. So yeah, at 3,000 RPM, when you shift to a higher gear, yeah, you're not really tapping the maximum torque figure or torque power of this thing. So yeah, I guess when you're driving the Raize, well, this base model Raize around the city, you won't be going raising with this base model Raize. The base spec Raize E gets a surprisingly sporty cabin that I didn't even see in the top spec Raize Turbo or even the mid spec Raize G. Now this base trim of course gets just the bare essentials, but we also get a lot more features than you bargained for. Now the seats here are naturally wrapped in fabric, although the design of these seats are similar to the ones found in the mid-spec Raize G, and I love the design of this thing. I mean, it appeals to me, plus the fact that we also have this red piping on the sides of the seats, which adds that sporty flair to this cabin. Now the seats are also pretty comfortable. I mean, I'd expect to get like rock hard seats, especially in a base Toyota, but man guys, this thing is mighty comfortable. Now, when you move over to the steering wheel of this thing, well, of course, we only get a urethane steering wheel here, although we do get some hands-free buttons for connectivity. And yeah, the steering wheel, surprisingly, still tilts, but it doesn't telescope, which is pretty similar to the higher variants of the Raize in the local lineup. Now, when it comes to the safety bits of this base spec Raize, well, we do get an adequate amount of safety bits right there, which is, it's really good that Toyota threw in all of those safety bits even in this base model variant. Now, when you look at the instrument gauge cluster here, well, it's an analog gauge cluster, but at least we do get a tachometer there. So we have a tach and a speedo and a small multi-information display in the middle, although I really don't know why we don't get an engine temperature gauge here in this base model Raize E. Well, it's kind of expected since this is the base variant, but yeah, even in the top-spec Turbo Raize, we don't get an engine temperature gauge. So I guess, that's maybe because the Raize is a Toyota, and Toyotas are indestructible. Toyotas do not break down. So who needs an engine temperature gauge anyway? That's something for other brands. Now, when you do go over to the infotainment system here, well, this is a Toyota, so you'll see that the infotainment screen is placed in a housing that reminds me of a Macintosh back in the 80s. But this is still an 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system that, guys, comes with Apple CarPlay and comes with Android Auto. Yes, you heard it right, guys. It has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in a base model budget Toyota. How can that be? Good job, Toyota. Good job. Now, 8 inches touchscreen. I mean, guys, put it this way. The Ford Explorer Limited 4x4, that's a 3 million peso SUV, also has an 8-inch touchscreen. And this base model Raize E also has a touchscreen. Now, granted, we don't get a reverse camera here. But it's expected because this is the base model trim. Now, when you go down to the climate control setup here, guys, we do have like a manual climate control setup, although it looks really fine, looks really nifty. And we also don't get an engine start-stop button, but we just get a regular key, as you can see right here. Still, we do have an unlock lock button right there, so that's pretty good. And when you go down further, you have your 5-speed manual here, and right in the housing, right near or beside the manual handbrake, we have this. Are you seeing what I'm seeing, guys? This base spec Raize E manual transmission comes with a center armrest. I mean, not even the top spec Wigo gets a center armrest. Not even the Mirage gets a center armrest. But this base spec Raize E, even in manual transmission, gets a center armrest. Now, granted, it doesn't have leather padding here, but who the hell cares? Right? Who cares, guys? Anyway, now this is a base spec Toyota, as I keep mentioning, so we are surrounded by hard plastics. We got hard plastics on the dash, on the door cards, everything is hard plastics. But here's something that I didn't expect to see in this base variant. You see, we get some red trim around the side AC vents, on the sides of your center tunnel here. Heck, even behind the door handles of your front doors, we have red trim. Now, this is what I said in my Raize Turbo video review, or video feature, is that in other markets, the Raize comes with red trim that gives it a sporty flavor inside. And I did not expect to see that here in this base model Raize E manual transmission. I mean, not even the mid-spec G and the Turbo Raize gets those red trim. I mean, yeah, fine, it's just red plastic, guys, but all of those red bits give this cabin a splash of sportiness inside. So, guys, paired with a manual transmission right here, you know what you can do? All you need to do is wait for some stupid driver to crash his Raize Turbo and buy that engine and do an engine swap of the Raize Turbo onto this Raize E manual. And yeah, you can go rezzing now in the city with your Toyota Raize E manual with a turbo engine dropped in front. Yeah. The back seat of this base spec Toyota Raize is pretty much suited for commercial use because, well, we don't get any amenities or toys here at the back. Heck, even the top spec Raize Turbo doesn't get any toys here, so we can't really expect much more from this base model Raize. Well, it does get power windows, so I guess that also counts as an amenity, guys. And yeah, when it comes to the overall space here, yeah, it's pretty decent for a small crossover. It can fit 2 average Asian adults here, no problems at all, guys. But yeah, this is as basic as any, well, budget Toyota back seat can get. For a base model budget Toyota, this Raize 1.2E manual transmission punches way above its weight. Now, Toyota Philippines used to always give us the cripple hammer when it comes to their budget base model offerings, but the same cannot be said for this Raize E. In fact, this is so well spec for the price that you're paying, a statement that I am so happy to say about a base model Toyota. As what my good friend Soju Car said in his Raize manual transmission review video, this Raize 1.2E manual might be the most intelligent choice in the local Raize lineup. Thanks for watching.